Hey guys, what's up? It's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel, Real Talk Recovery, where we talk about recovery from addiction and I share my life with you guys. So, welcome to today's video. Today, you guys, we are going to be talking about lifestyles of the dope, sick, and infamous. Yours truly. But before we get into that video, I just need to ask you guys to do 3 little favors for me, okay? The first thing I need to ask you to do is to please give this video a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Whichever one you decide is fine with me. Just give me them thumbs. You got me? Give me them thumbs. Second, make sure you subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out a lot. I love having you here, and that way you know when I do videos. If you didn't know, I go live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. Central Time, and I sprinkle little videos in between on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. So you can always catch me around here, though, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. If you're one of my subscribers that are on maintenance medication like me, I do Mara meetings every Friday night at 7 p.m. Central Time, and on Monday nights we do step studies. So, yeah, join us. It's really fun and it's interactive, and we have a really good group of men and women who are supporting each other in recovery. So it's really awesome. And the third thing I need to ask you to do is to just make sure when you click that bell that you set it to all. That way you get notified when I go live or when I upload a video. Okay? All right, so let's talk about lifestyles of the dope, sick, and infamous. First of all, let me put a little disclaimer out there. This time in my life, I was destitute. I was hitting my rock bottom. I was making my way down to the bottom. I hadn't gotten all the way down yet because I was still trying to tread water. I hadn't quite given up yet. I hadn't surrendered yet. But it was getting to a point where I couldn't handle it anymore. Okay? You know, I make light of it and I laugh and I'm making these cool titles that I think are catchy and stuff, but it's not funny, and it wasn't a good time. It wasn't a fun time in my life. It was a very bad time in my life where I was desperate. I had nowhere to go, and these are the places where I had to settle, the places where I laid my head because of my addiction. If I wasn't in my active addiction, if I would have gotten sober, I would have had support. I would have had my family, but I chose to stay out and get high and keep doing what I was doing because I thought I could control my addiction. I thought that I could just do one. I thought that I could work a job and get high still. I thought that I could drive my car and shoot dope. And all these things I had to learn through experience that I couldn't do them, and that every time that I did, I lost parts of my life. I lost objects, material things, dignity, respect. I lost jobs. I lost friendships. I lost guys that I cared about, that I was in relationships with. I disrespected myself and other people. I lost my family. Like, I lost a lot because of my addiction. So I'm not in any way trying to glorify it or make light of it. I'm sharing these experiences with you guys in hopes that, one, if you're in this situation, I want this to be a reality check for you. I want you to say, whoa, she's talking to me. This is where I'm at. This is where I'm living. This is what I'm doing. And I need to make a change. Or if you've been there and now you're recovering, I want you to look at yourself and say, I can keep doing this. There's hope. Look, Nicole's doing well. She's living a nice life today. I've got a beautiful house over my head today, and it's nothing short of a miracle. It's because I work hard on my recovery. It's because I'm honest, open-minded, and I'm willing, and I take suggestions. So, okay, let's get into the video. So what I thought I could do was I wanted to share with you guys basically like the top 3 or 4 just craziest spots I've slept, the craziest spots I have lived. Okay, so each one of these places has like a little story time around it. So I'm going to start out, of course, at the beginning. So here we go. So at the beginning of my addiction, even before I started shooting methamphetamine, I I met this guy in high school. Well, he went to my high school. He graduated a couple of years early than me. And remember how I talked to you guys about Nikki last night? Well, me and Nikki were friends with this guy, and he lived out in this trailer in Piercy, Arkansas. Look it up. Okay, so it was out in the middle of nowhere in Piercy, Arkansas. And we were all, you know, doing what we do. We're getting high, doing methamphetamine. Well, I kept going out there every day, every night, and I was still living with my parents at this time, because remember, I was only about 20. I hadn't gotten kicked out of my mom and dad's house. Still working at, I think I was working at JCPenney or Shoe Carnival, but it was between that time. Nikki was still alive. So I was going out and I was staying the night with this guy. Me and Nikki were, like, every single night, just getting high on methamphetamine, not coming home at night. Well, when we first started hanging out over there, there was running water, electricity, and, you know, it seemed like not too bad of a place. Now, when I was growing up, I grew up in a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, a nice brick house with, my parents had about 2.5 acres of land, nice vehicles, garage, carport. We had a pool in our backyard. My dad actually put a above ground pool. It was about 4 feet deep, but it was still bomb as hell. We had a deck around it. We could go jumping in. It was fun. So I always had a nice place to live. Clean, water, electricity, food, like all my needs and wants were met. Well, this trailer that we were staying at was like a flop house. Like, everybody stayed there. There was a couch. Y'all, I'm fixing to tell you guys. There was a couch in this house where, like, anybody could just flop there. And there was a cat had her babies in the couch cushions. Just imagine that. It was fucking dirty, okay? There was cats having babies in the couch cushions. Well, after hanging out for like a month or two, I think David lost his job. That was his name. David lost his job. And we ended up just kind of like kicking it and getting high all day, every day. Well, he ended up getting the light shut off and the water shut off. Well, somehow we were able to jimmy it up, and we had like illegal electricity. So we were still able to like have lights and see around. The hard part was there was no water. Okay, so you guys know what happens when there's no water. You can't flush the toilets. You can't take a shower. You can't clean anything. It just becomes really stagnant. Well, we would go outside and we were digging holes out in the backyard so we could go out there and go number 2, go poop. There was cans of Coke and just like trash everywhere. Those baby kittens were all over the place now. There was like hair and fleas. You guys, when I tell you this place was just dirty, and I was sleeping there on this mattress that was on the floor that had like sheets. It was just disgusting. Now when I look back on it, I'm like, why was I staying there? But that's what I would do. I would stay for a couple days and get high, and then me and Nikki would drive back over to my mom and dad's house and take showers and eat some food. And then we would bring the guys back food. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, what? So that was my first experience with really kind of like roughing it, where I was pooping outside, peeing outside, sleeping in just like filth, no running water. And these guys, of course, they were manipulating me and Nikki, because we were bringing them back food. We were bringing them back, you know, stuff to drink. I mean, we were basically taking care of them. And after that, I ended up going to treatment, because shortly after that, Nikki got married. And then about a couple of years later, she ended up taking her own life. But that was the first place I stayed that was just like straight up questionable. You feel me? Okay. All right, so as my addiction progressed, I bounced around from place to place. I officially got kicked out of my mom and dad's house, and I met this guy. Now, I talked about him a little bit last night. His name was LD. Me and LD started dating. We absolutely fell in love. Like, the first time that we really hung out, like, I was so physically attracted to him. He had dark brown hair and green eyes. He had this like Italian kind of look to him. And I just thought he was so, so cute. Little did I know that he was homeless. Okay, he had nowhere to live. He was like, his grandma would let him sleep on her couch every now and then, but he had nowhere to live. He had no job, and he was on parole. All right, and so he still had to walk out his parole. So we started dating, and I found out that he really had nowhere to go. And I was talking to my mom and dad because I wasn't coming back to their house because I was getting high. Me and LD were sleeping in the backseat of my Ford Focus, you guys. So it just got to a point where I was like, I can't live like this anymore. We cannot stay in my car. Like, this is crazy. So what I ended up doing was I found this 1-bedroom efficiency, okay, in downtown Hot Springs, Arkansas, right across from the French Quarter. Okay, this 1-bedroom efficiency was just that, a 1-bedroom efficiency with a little hot plate stove looking thing, a little mini refrigerator, and a toilet and a shower. Okay, and then it came furnished with a mattress and a box spring and a little recliner. Okay, but just let me tell you guys something. These 1-bedroom efficiencies were infested with bed bugs. They were infested with roaches, infested with rats. There was bodily fluids and blood and stains all over this mattress. There were cigarette burn holes in everything. There was a constant smell of crack cocaine in the hallway and all through the building, because this building, if you look it up online, downtown Hot Springs is where Al Capone used to go through the tunnels underground, right? Because we had gambling and casinos, and Al Capone was like running the streets of Hot Springs with his mob buddies underneath in these tunnels under Hot Springs, Arkansas. Okay, look it up. And these buildings are super old, historic buildings, right? And so this building was one of those that was just like, they weren't taking care of it. They just opened the rooms, put some old nasty ass furniture in them, and started renting them out to prostitutes, drug addicts, pimps, drug dealers, stuff like that. So this place cost us $300 a month to live in. Me and LD moved in, and I'll never forget it. I brought like 7 fitted sheets to put over that mattress. I brought all these clean like covers, trying to make it look nice and look okay. I brought a dustbuster so I could sweep and vacuum. And I mean, I cleaned it up the best I could, but it was a squalor. It was a squalor, y'all. It was freezing outside. It was the winter time, and had one of those windows that lift up and we could look down. We were like on the 3rd floor, right? It was so bad. One night we were, getting busy, and LD was on top of me, and I was holding his shoulders like this, and all of a sudden, a roach this big started crawling up my arm, and and it was looking right at me. I remember, and I was like, there's a roach, and I flicked it off of him. I'll never forget it. We laughed so hard because we were like, it's just Jose. Oh, because we were naming the roaches. That's how many there were. You could not fight them. You couldn't get away from them. They were in our TV, you guys, in our TV. You also have to understand that we were getting high on methamphetamine. And so we would stay up all night, and we would have people over and sit in this room smoking all day long. It was just disgusting. You could hear women screaming and yelling all night long. It was just really like, the atmosphere was just like that of desperation. It was just a place where you walked in and darkness just fell over your soul, because it was where we were killing ourselves. I remember my mom and dad came to visit because they wanted to check on me, make sure I was okay, and my dad walked in and his jaw hit the ground. He said, "Oh, hell no. You're not staying here anymore. We're getting you out of here. I don't care what we have to do. We're going to help you find somewhere to live." And my mom and dad helped me find a nice little 1-bedroom trailer that was fully furnished with nice, brand new furniture from a little old lady. It was clean as a whistle. and me and LD moved in there, and that's where I lived for the next 5 or 6 years. And I worked really hard at the revenue office, and I worked at Sonic, and I was tweaking and getting high all day, every day, but I was working 2 jobs just to stay afloat. At that time, I was doing those big methadone wafers and just doing dope, methamphetamine, like it was going out of style. I was super skinny too. So that was the second questionable living situation I had. Okay, now this third place I'm about to tell you about, this is where me and Neil ended up living, okay? Now, I had lived many other places before I met Neil. I lived in halfway houses. I slept on my friend Kaylee's couch for about 6 months. I rented a room for my friend Mr. Lawrence, this old man. He's a straight pimp daddy, talking about he would wear 3-piece suits and alligator shoes. He was a light-skinned black man with green eyes. He's probably about 70 years old, but he was hustling me. I paid him about $350 a month to live in one of his bedrooms in his house, but his house was nice, and I had a roof over my head. It wasn't like a squalor. Now, me and Neil, we ended up moving into this high-rise, and I've told you guys stories about this before, but the place was called Plaza Towers. Plaza Towers. Let me just tell you all about this place. We lived on the 7th floor, and just like the one-bedroom efficiency, it was a studio apartment, okay? And so when you would walk in, there was just one big room, and there was bathrooms to the side, a bathroom to the side, and a bedroom right there, okay, with a shower, tub, and toilet, and then they had a stove and a refrigerator, and then the one open room. It could have been really nice, but it was infested with crack addicts. Everybody that lived in the surrounding apartments, everybody that lived on these different floors were on a fixed income. It was just crackheads. And listen, I'm not talking shit. I was smoking crack with them. I was one of them. But it was so chaotic. I would get off work at 3 o'clock in the morning because I was waiting tables at this time. And see, what Neil's parents would do was they wouldn't let me come live with them. So Neil got to live here with his parents, and I had to stay alone in that crack hole apartment. Okay, so I had a really bad resentment against my husband and his family because of that too. Because at this time, his parents were kind of trying to keep us away from each other. They didn't realize that we were never going to leave each other's side. And so Neil would be at his house, and I would sleep there at night. And so what I would do is I would get off work, and I would go spend $300 and smoke crack all night long with my next door neighbor, Joe, this old man. And me and Joe would lock ourselves behind the doors and deadbolt it, and then push all of my dressers up against that door, peeping under looking for the cops to come. We was so scared. The reason this place was so bad was because of the area. It was centrally located. I could get dope anywhere. There was drug addicts up and down, in and out all day long. At this time, and this is why I don't share a lot about my experience with methadone, but this is what happened to me when I lived at this place. And I think I have a video on my channel. I'll link it in the comment section. But I was abusing methadone. At the time, my husband was getting 365 methadone 10 a month, and I was taking 20 of those a day, all right? And what would happen to me on methadone is I would not sleep. I would stay up all night long on methadone, itching my face and drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes, and just terrible, y'all, terrible shit. And one night, I walked into, I had been up for so many days, I was in a days. I walked right into this alarm box that was sticking out from the side of my wall, and I hit my head on it and knocked myself unconscious. I hit it so hard I ran into it. I fell out on the ground. Now, one of the things that I did when I was high on methadone was I would get really hot. So I would take off all my clothes, and I would be walking around naked in my room. Well, I left my door wide open, and I knocked myself out and fell out on the floor naked in my apartment. Thank God that Joe and his brother were walking by, this older man that I was friends with, and they came in, threw a blanket over me, shut the door, and they stayed in there. They sat on the, I woke up and they were asleep on the recliners because I had 2 of these little rocking chairs in there. But that's what I would do, and I would be unconscious, you guys, like out of my mind on methadone. So that's why I don't really share my experience, because I was abusing it so badly that I don't have a positive experience to share. But I know a lot of people do. But I was living in that place, you guys, and it was at night when I would try to go to sleep at night. There would be people fighting all night long. You could hear them fighting and arguing. You could hear people knocking on each other's doors. It was just such a scary, it was not a place that you wanted to live. Above us, there was this guy. They had to evacuate his whole room because his whole room was infested with bed bugs. It was so scary. I thought they were going to have to burn the place down. That's how disgusting it was. But I'm telling you guys, those are probably the top 3 worst living situations I lived in, where I couldn't believe I was living in this nastiness. But I did it. I did it because I wanted to get high. You know, I could have went and lived with my family and got my life together, but I was still using. I was trapped in my addiction. So I hope that you guys don't ever have to put yourselves in positions like that. But if you do, and you're there right now, you don't deserve this. You deserve better, and you can get better. You just have to get your ass out of that situation. So instead of saying, I still want to get high, get yourself together, walk out, and reach out for help. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night at 7.